Hello, everyone. I'm Casey Loftman, Editor-in-Chief of Food Engineering Magazine. Joining me today is Mark Kuo, CEO of Routific, and we're going to be discussing how delivery optimization can help businesses manage the problems that they're facing right now during the ongoing pandemic. Mark, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And to start out with, can you give me a little bit of an overview of what you're seeing right now? I know your company does a lot with like route optimization and things like that for delivery services, but what are the big trends going on right now as people are adjusting to the pandemic?
Yeah, we are seeing a huge surge in demand since the pandemic started. And demand for software to manage their delivery routes and optimize delivery routes as a result of many SMBs essentially pivoting to add delivery services. The result of essentially people staying at home, having a lot of time on their hands, and therefore, using that time to order everything online has definitely created a shift in the market and accelerated the adoption of e-commerce and home delivery services by many years, I would say.
Right, because as you mentioned, this isn't an entirely new thing. There's been e-commerce and a lot of smaller businesses doing these sort of customized delivery options for years, but now it's sort of, you have to do it. You don't really have a choice.
Exactly. You don't really have a choice because all your customers can't go to your retail shops anymore. They're at home. Yes, you're right. E-commerce has been on the rise and home delivery has been on the rise for many, many years already. But they have only been adopted by the early adopters, the people who are, very savvy and wants to do everything through the app. But now you're seeing a world where everyone's been forced to, try out and adopt delivery services. And they're now also for the first time experiencing the conveniences of delivery services. So going forward, even as economies reopen, I do expect that this is going to be an accelerated trend that's going to continue to grow.
Right. And, a lot of this is anecdotal evidence, obviously, but, you hear people saying, hey, I'm learning that maybe I don't have to do things the way that I always did them. Maybe I can work from home. Maybe I can order things for delivery. Maybe I don't have to be constantly running out to all these places the way that I used to.
That's
so
right.
You feel like that there's part of this that's just being driven by adjusting to the pandemic, but then part of it is going to stick around for the long term.
Yeah, I do think it is definitely going to stick around for the long term. So from our perspective, as we have seen a lot of food delivery businesses, farm to table businesses, even farmers who used to sell to retail shops have now gone direct to consumer. And they have seen, upon launching within weeks, because that's how quickly you can spin up a delivery arm of your business. Within launching, within a week, they were up to about 200 orders a day. And now they're getting a sense that, hey, wait a minute, this is actually a much better business model to begin with. So they're going to continue doing that, especially as the demand is going to stay high post-pandemic. So I do think, a lot of businesses are pivoting to delivery businesses, to add home delivery services as a necessity right now. But as a result, both sides of the marketplace are going to realize that this is much more convenient for the consumer, and this is actually a really good, sustainable business model for the SMBs.
Right, and it's interesting you mentioned that because again, like you said, it's sort of both sides of the equation where you have consumers saying, "Hey, there's a new and better way to do some of this stuff," and then you also have some businesses saying, "This is a new and better way to do this stuff."
Exactly, and the pandemic has kind of forced everyone to try it at the same time. And now everyone's realizing this is a better way to do stuff.
Right. So what have you seen in terms of some of the challenges that have been faced by companies as they adopt? They have to sort of spin this up very quickly, because as we've mentioned, it's something where you sort of have to do this. So what are some of the challenges that people have run into and how are they overcome them?
Yeah, so there are three main components to a delivery business. There is the e-commerce side of things. So that's your, how do you get your orders? That's your storefront, your website. Then there is the route planning side of things, which I'll get into in a moment because that tends to be the most challenging piece. That's, you've got your orders, now how do you get logistically organized? And then number three is to have your drivers to actually go out and physically deliver it and that whole experience. So as for the most challenging piece, what most SMBs and delivery businesses don't realize, as soon as you have 200 orders, Now you got to figure out, what am I going to do? How am I going to make sure that I deliver to every single one of them at the time that I've promised that I will deliver it to them? And how do you manage all of that? And how do you not just manage it, but how do you manage it efficiently so that you can still maintain your gross margins? Because the one piece that small businesses and people not in logistics tend to underestimate is the cost of delivery. So how much does it cost you to make your delivery, and how do you incorporate that either as a, as part of a delivery fee that you pass on to your consumers, or how do you, make sure that you minimize that as much as possible so that you can even offer a free delivery service if you can manage to squeeze in, let's say, 6 to 10 orders per hour, then you can, make it really economically viable. And that's where route optimization becomes really, really important. Especially for SMBs who are entering the taking orders online and then trying to deliver it to them for the first time. A lot of them experience the pain as they grow from 10, 20 orders to 50 to 100 orders a day. That's when the headache of the logistical nightmare really, really starts to feel. And that's where we tend to help them with our route optimization software, where you just drop in your list of orders. We'll optimize it for you, tell you this is a schedule for driver 1, driver 2, driver 3 in the most optimal way. And now you can start delivering on that brand promise that you gave to your customers.
Right. I imagine that's something that that a lot of companies had to learn the hard way, which is, you look at the big companies. I mean, they spend staggering amounts of money every year on figuring out the most efficient way to get things from point A to point B to point C. Yet if you're a small restaurant or a small retail store, you don't have that experience, and you send out a driver with 4 orders and they're going from here to here, back to here, over to here.
Exactly.
All of a sudden that starts to add up.
Exactly. And that adds up very quickly, especially not just 4 orders. Most of our customers would do maybe 10 to 20 orders in one single route. And if you don't optimize that route efficiently, you're going to end up wasting 20 to 40% more on fuel and your driver's time. And yeah, you're right. Larger companies have invested millions, if not billions of dollars, like UPS, on internal route optimization software. What we're really out to do with Routific, our mission is to make that powerful route optimization software accessible to all SMBs, so that they don't have to be finagling with spreadsheets and Google Maps and pen and paper to try to figure out their routes.
Right. And then from your perspective, what have you learned as a company from this pandemic? What have you learned as you've had sort of the sudden surge in demand for your product and for delivery optimization? What has that taught you?
That's a very interesting question. What has it taught me? It has taught me that this is the first time something like a pandemic has happened. And for the entire mass, like the mainstream masses, to adopt new technology or new behaviors, it almost takes something of a external impetus for especially the late adopters to use something new. And because humans by nature tend to be very much stuck to their old ways, which is what we've also been seeing with a lot of businesses that we used to talk to pre-pandemic, where they were still planning routes manually. We've been doing this for 10 years now. I've been driving the city for 5 years. Why is your software telling me to go downtown first? I always go to the suburbs first. That kind of mentality. And it takes something external to kind of jolt them awake and start thinking, hey, wait a minute, I actually could be doing the things much, much better if I did, this or that. So that's something that we've been seeing a lot. A lot of the conversation I'm having now with our customers is much more productive, in that everyone's just much more open-minded about the future and more open-minded about, I need to be flexible. I need to change the way I'm thinking if I actually want to, survive this. So that's been an interesting shift in just the market behavior, I'd say.
Yeah, as you mentioned there, now is certainly not the time for hidebound thinking.
Right, exactly.
All right. Well, Mark, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me today. My thanks again to Mark Kuo, CEO of Routific, for a really interesting discussion on delivery and route optimization. Thank you for watching.
Thanks, Casey.